Hello and welcome to the Red Rooster Golf Podcast. Alongside company founder Kerry Moher, I am a returning Brad Fritsch, former PGA Tour player, current Korn Ferry Tour member, and Red Rooster founding partner. Red Rooster Golf, join us in waking up your golf glove game. It's part of your equipment, it's ever present on each and every shot you hit, yet it's often ignored. Learn to manage your glove, make sure it's there to help you, and change it when it's not. Red Rooster Golf. Wake up, shake up, step up, and give. Well, Kerry, lots going on in the golf world. Since we last spoke on the Red Rooster Golf Podcast, we had the Canadian Open, the 72-foot putt heard around the world from Nick Taylor, which was obviously a huge thing for us Canadian golfers. And then the U.S. Open at LA Country Club. What a great couple of weeks, I thought, outside of the noise of Live Golf and PGA Tour, but what a couple of great tournaments. How did you see it?
Yeah, I love to see the Canadian Open move around, to just see some new golf courses. I know Glen Abbey well. It makes for great theater, but I just almost know it too well. It becomes a bit too predictable. It was neat to see Oakdale look like a great golf course, and just obviously that finish was incredible. I don't watch a lot of golf on Sundays anymore. I just don't have the time. I'd love to, but I just kind of had a feeling like I was like, I'll watch the first little bit, and if Nick Taylor's in the mix, I'll kind of carve out some time. And we ended up, like, my whole family, like all my wife and my daughters and my son, we all watched the last few holes, and it was kind of hard to watch Nick do that interview when he was playing 15. I was like, oh boy, I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea. And then he had a couple of scraggly holes after that, but man, he was so clutch. His putting. I've been using the claw ever since watching. I'm like, maybe that's it. It's just the claw. That's what was missing. But no, great theater there. And then U.S. Open, amazing. I mean, LACC, just to see that golf course was fun. A bit of an architecture buff, and to just never seen the course itself. I thought it was just incredible, and an amazing finish, and so cool to see Wyndham, hold off, Ricky and Rory and close like that. I just thought that, it's been a couple of great weeks for golf if you're a fan.
Yeah, I thought the only thing that stood out to me about the U.S. Open in a negative way was kind of the way the scoring went. Super low early, and then they kind of figured something out and made the scoring worse as the week went on. I thought it was just a little bit strange. I always think whatever you have when you get there, that should be it, whether you're a player or the golf course, and just let it play out. But I think we saw some LACC influence over the USGA in a whole lot of things. Apparently they bought up a whole bunch of tickets. The atmosphere was a little bit different than usual U.S. Opens, but I enjoyed the golf. I thought it was great theater, seeing kind of an unheralded, in air quotes, because he's a great player, Wyndham Clark hold off Rory, who was playing great, just again couldn't get it close enough to make any putts. I didn't think he hit it awesome. I just thought he hit it very solid for a final U.S. Open round. And again, bogey on a par 5 coming in on 14, that was basically the difference. So, it was a fun week. I think out of all the guys in the mix, I've actually played the most with Wyndham Clark. Not that I've played with a lot with him, but super long, super talented Oklahoma State guy. So anyone who goes there is obviously highly recruited, super talented, and a couple of wins in the last 2 months kind of gives you an indication that he's on his way up. But out of the pro golf world, this episode is about our new introductory ultra premium glove that we've been trying to get done for a while now. We've had some bumps along the way. We've had a lot of beta testing, which I think is important. But if you're listening to this, the Sussex is available right now. And I'm super excited about it. I know you are. Let's just start with kind of an overview of where we came from, which is kind of, we make golf gloves that are more durable than most. And we saw a need to find another entry in our portfolio, so to speak, but start with our main line of gloves and why they're so durable, and then we can pivot to the Sussex after that.
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, I'm going to throw it back to you. I'd love to hear your perspective on, like, kind of my backstory was I was kind of this cheapskate with gloves. I didn't value them. And then I kind of saw how you really did. I remember you saying, if I didn't get these gloves for free, this is the, one piece of equipment I'd go and invest in on my own. So maybe talk us through like what's the typical week for a tour pro? How many gloves do you use during the week? How do you use them? Because I think that's important to kind of frame how we positioned, our line of gloves currently.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so on tour, on the PGA Tour, there's no hard and fast rule about how many gloves you get. You get as many as you want. I was pretty conservative with wearing gloves. I'd probably use one glove for every 2 rounds. I would usually take some older gloves and wear them for the range, but then practice rounds, break out a new glove. 2 practice rounds, that glove goes away. One thing that makes guys go through a lot of gloves is the kids on the side of the 9th green or the 18th green saying, "Can I have your glove?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So, break out the Sharpie, sign it, give it to a kid. So you go through a lot of golf gloves. For a long time, I used the Titleist Players Glove early on in my career. So that was Canadian Tour, Nationwide Tour. I'm dating myself. And then for some reason, I switched over. I don't remember why. I think I just liked the fit better. It was the FootJoy Sci-Flex, and I think now it's called the ProFlex. And if anyone can't tell the similarities between the ProFlex and the Cape, Red Rooster Cape, then I don't know what to tell you. They're pretty similar. So not a surprise I like that glove. But usually your locker would have a box of 6 gloves in it. And that's enough for a week. But some guys got more. And I think it just depends how often you give your gloves away. But a discerning player might use 1 glove per round, and they're available to you. So why wouldn't you get the absolute best feeling glove you can have for every round that you play? The rounds are worth a lot of money at that level. So if you're getting them for free, you can go through them as many as you want.
Like I noticed when I was caddying for you in the Corn Ferry finals in the fall, other than our Taiwanese friend who had a glove that was like maybe a year or
it sure was
old, more often than not, I saw a pro pull out a new glove on the first tee, and or it was a glove he had used for like a light warm up. Is that pretty typical? You're going to see, who's breaking out a glove from yesterday or last week on the PJ Tour?
Yeah, last week, no, never. Yesterday, maybe. Like I would do that. I would go Thursday, Friday, same glove. I mean, you look at any of our gloves after 1 round, it's like you haven't worn it. So as long as you keep flat and dry, if you have a little storage container, the glove compartment in our case, I think you can safely use that second glove, even playing for $20 million, no problem. But rarely, if ever, would I have gone into the weekend not using a new glove. That's it's just silly. If they're there, if they're available, you want to have the best feeling that you could possibly have. I mean, hey, it's in our tagline. There's nothing like putting on a fresh glove on the first tee. Like there's nothing like it. It's a great feeling if you're a golfer. And so, yeah, I don't think guys think about gloves, but they're using them because they can. And why wouldn't you use the new fresh one in almost every single round? It basically comes down to that.
Yeah, I guess that is it's a key distinction. There, part of that is just like that preparation of like putting that on the first tee as part of that, like, here we go. First tee is so critical to getting that round off to a start, and there's a bit of a mindset there, I think, too. So I think, that walking through that, and I remember some of your feedback on, Pro-Am participants in particular, where these are like fairly well-to-do golfers who love the game and have the wherewithal to, have a fresh glove in any given round. And quite often you'd see that, they might have a player's glove or some of these sort of like, call them premium tour quality golf gloves that are a little bit thinner, a little bit softer, but they just don't last as long. And you see top amateurs even just using gloves a lot longer than they need to, and or the glove was designed for. And that was kind of the inspiration between, our current line of gloves. So, when we went over and met with the manufacturers and we got into the tanneries, we realized like we can make a glove with any leather weight that we want. You can go all the way up into, goat leather, which is, really thick, used for baseball typically, and was used back in the day for some of the old school brands used them for golf. But it's a pretty thick glove, super durable. That one would last you all year. Just lacks that feel. So then you start getting into that Cabretta leather, which is, the highest, quality leather that you can get your hands on, the AAA, which is, has the least sort of, abrasions and so on, sort of the cream of the crop, if you will. And then within that category, you can kind of go through this thinning process and use calipers and kind of get it down to whatever thickness you're looking for. And we tried to get something that, straddled the line between, feel and durability. And so in general, our current line of gloves err on the side of durability. Just, we felt like our audience would appreciate a few more rounds with the glove. That's kind of the direction that we went. And, as a result, there was a hole in our lineup. We built out the Range Rooster with that synthetic glove meant for practice, super durable. Use that for warm-up, long practice sessions. Save the leather gloves for the course. We developed the performance line. You touched on it, the Cape and the Silky that have a little bit extra stretch through the knuckles and palm. And love those gloves. Those are, probably my favorite. And then you get into, what we call our classic line, 100% Cabretta leather, whether it's colored or pearl white, etc. It's those are the gloves that all use the same grade of leather, the same weight, and same thickness. So there was just this gap in the performance category. And we saw it this year kind of exposed. I mean, it is probably the only negative feedback we get from customers is, what is your thinnest, softest glove? And in fact, all of them are in the same category. So,
right. A constant question, not that they won't purchase whatever they purchase, but that is definitely a question we get asked a lot. What's your softest, thinnest glove? Well, they're all the same.
Yeah, that's right. And so that kind of led us to the Sussex. And also we saw it in the MyGolfSpy review this year. Last year we did really well in the performance category. And I would say like our gloves they really shine in that category because they've got great feel, they've got great durability. That's what's valued in that category. And MyGolfSpy eliminated that completely and lumped in premium and performance gloves into the same category. And we don't, compete as well in that because we didn't have that thinner, softer glove. And we'd been working on it for a while. So, good timing. We were always shooting kind of for this summer. We were shooting for last summer for the Rain Rooster, and we had to continually kind of make some tweaks there. But we were able to deliver. The gloves are held up in customs, both Canada and the U.S., some cases for a couple weeks. But we've been able to go through the beta testing process and get the pre-production run and our production run done. So super happy with the glove. The beta testing's been great. A few surprises there in a good way. I thought, my only concern really was, will this glove melt? Will it just not hold up? We've tried to be this really soft, durable glove, and now all of a sudden, is this the glove that rips and tears and falls apart after a round or two and becomes somewhat disposable? But, maybe speak to the feedback that you have specifically, Brad. I mean, you've used the glove. What's your take?
Yeah, I've used it a bunch. It feels better than our classic line, and as it should. It's softer and thinner, like you said, and I'm still going strong with it, probably 6 or 7 rounds. I remember seeing a group of beta testers, and I think you had kind of prepped them, the pre-shipment info, and you just had a little blurb at the bottom, and it said, this'll, we're striving for 3 to 5 rounds out of this glove. And I remember seeing, because everyone's on kind of a forum, and we can see the comments, and a lot of the comments were saying, well, wait a second, that's not very long at all. And I became not concerned, but just a little bit like, that doesn't sound good to them. Obviously not, that won't be in our marketing pitch, but then they come back a month later and say, no, it lasted way longer than that. And that's been my experience too. It's a great glove. And we kind of took some measures with styling that are a little bit different from our classic line. So our classic line, on the Velcro strap, it has the rooster with the circle around it. We got the woven label on the left. A lot of brand marketing, and it's worked well. But kind of talk about the Sussex and kind of some of the things that we did with that.
Yeah, so I actually pulled up the feather. So in a lot of ways, we've styled the Sussex to be almost like a more subtle feather style-wise. The feather's got the red woven label. I love that. Went with this circular logo, sort of circular icon logo, and then our pull tab on the back. It's great. It's probably our simplest, cleanest style. And then, but we wanted to differentiate the Sussex from the feather, not just in the quality of leather and the thinness and softness, but also kind of visually. So you can see here, just with this is the Sussex here, just really like simple icon, eliminated the circle, just really let that kind of like rooster take up a little bit more space on the Velcro tab. We eliminated the woven label on the side. We had some feedback from some customers, wanted to kind of like just thought that was extraneous. Some would argue some of our gloves are a bit over branded, and probably guilty as charged. And then just kind of streamlined even just the pull tab, made it a little bit bigger. It's a softer glove. I would say that it definitely, I've found it stretches out a little bit more. So it may be you want to go for like an even sort of tighter fit at first, because it is really thin and soft. And so don't be afraid to kind of like really let that thing get on really tight at first. I found it stretches out a little bit. I was concerned that it would stretch out too much and maybe get a little bit sloppy, but I found the fit to be great. The durability's been surprising. It's definitely going to, isn't going to last as long as a feather or as our classic line of gloves, but it's still holding up really well. I'd say we erred on the side of caution there, even with beta testers, to just sort of ensure that we set proper expectations there. And they were all super happy with the durability, love the feel, literally does melt. It really, I think it shores up a gap in our, glove line, and super thrilled with it. It's our best glove, so it's the like playing a bucket list round, or you're playing in the member guest, or you're playing a tournament round, something special. I think this is the glove that you're going to want. I think you'll want a couple of these a year. But I would still say, I'm probably still going to go back to the classic line kind of day in, day out. But hit up the Sussex when it's, something where I'm looking for that little extra, feel and performance.
Yeah, I must say, when we talked about developing a premium glove, I just had to ask you, well, how do we do that? And I learned a lot about our proprietary mold in our classic line of gloves. And then you say, well, there's this thinning process that they use, and however thin they make our classic line, they just keep running it through the leather thinner until we get what we want. And so I thought that was an interesting, I can't wait to go over there with you. I know you've been there either 2 or 3 times, and it's just such a fascinating process to me, and I'm excited to go. So like you said, bucket list rounds, tournament rounds, club championship, member guest, those types of things. Or for the golfer who just wants our absolute best glove. I'm excited to show this to everyone. Like I said, if you're listening, it's available now. I'll tell a quick story about something. Yours were tied up in customs for a little while. Mine were tied up for like a day or two. I think they all come on in a container. There's other stuff in the container. I finally get them. I'm unpacking them in the office, and I can't find them. Now we have a whole bunch of other gloves. You have 32 boxes. There's 350 gloves in each box, and they're all labeled. White, the names aren't on there. It's white, black, red, black, gray. And I go through all the whites, nothing there. They're feathers. I'm like, okay, let's try the white black. And the first couple white black were capes. And then I open one of the black boxes. It's the saddle. One red box. It's the comb. I'm having a panic attack. I've only had one other panic attack in my life. It was about 3 minutes before I had a colonoscopy, because 4 nurses came in the room and all started doing things at the same time, and they weren't speaking. And all of a sudden, I went from body temperature of 98.6 to about 42 degrees, it felt like. It was just it was not a good experience. This is the experience I had in the office trying to find the Sussex. And so I called our colleague, Glenn. I'm like, Glenn, I can't find it. I'm panicking. I'm not going to call Kerry because he might take a long walk off a short bridge. So he goes, they're in boxes 1 to 4, and the boxes are labeled with numbers. You and I aren't great with spreadsheets and packing lists, so I didn't have those available to me. And I look in box number 1. Oh, thank God, there it is. It was in the white-black category. I hadn't opened that particular box yet. I opened them all up. They're all there. But just some of the things that can happen just in, we had this long beta testing phase. We had a pretty good marketing campaign, I think, around the Sussex. People are asking about it, wanting it to be available, not today, but 2 weeks ago. And yet here we are. And these timelines were all met by the manufacturer. And yet I'm thinking we don't have it, and I'm in full-blown panic mode. It's like the joys of owning a small business, right?
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, like this production run was actually made in November of last year.
Right. Which we should tell people is better than the last production run, which some of them took 14 months. Now this was in and out of COVID and travel restrictions and shipping gluts, and half the workforce was working, half was at home, just to make sure that everyone didn't get sick at the same time. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and we get why that happened. And now it's cleaning up a little bit, which is good. But you're right, like this was ordered in November, and we ordered a lot of gloves, so we're good. But on that day when they came, it's like, oh my God, this was all for nothing.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah, there's been a few of those.
In retrospect, it was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, so far so good on this front. I mean, there's always something, it seems, with everything. But this is one of those things where like the planning's kind of come through for us. The customs was like a minor hiccup headache, and now we're finally ready to rock. So yeah, I'm excited to start shipping out the Sussex, getting the feedback. I feel like it really, rounds out our line of gloves. We've tried to do everything from, the Range Rooster, the performance gloves, to just make sure that anything glove related, we got you covered. And so feeling good about it. Looking forward to everybody's feedback over the next couple of weeks.
100%. We've done some cool other things. We did the bag collaboration with Stitch. That went really well. We've got these Precision Pro rangefinders coming in the next couple of weeks, Red Rooster branded. I'm excited about the summer, and the Sussex certainly kicks it off and it's going to get it off to a great start. You've got a couple questions for me. Is that right?
I do. Let me pull those up here. from Greg Cusack, and it just sort of touches on this. I know we've touched on this, and we can go into a little bit more. But his question is like, what separates Red Rooster gloves from other companies? And I think that was one of the things that when we went over, to some degree, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, but you want to piggyback on what some of these manufacturers with all this experience have been doing. But we also wanted to put, our own spin. You talked about, creating our own molds and creating our own cutting dies and things so that, our gloves aren't identical to others in the market, and putting our own spin on different stitches and different, use of elastics, when and where and how. And then I think the other piece was, it's sort of a proprietary thickness, and that's not to say that you couldn't figure it out. It's not Colonel Sanders', secret recipe by any stretch, but it's just different. And we created it to gloves to hold up in the heat and be a little bit more durable. And we're proud of that. And that's been the feedback. And I'd say most of our customers really value that. But now we've also got, that thin, soft performance glove, where needed. So I'd say that's the piece about Red Rooster that separates us, is we're just looking for those. It's just these tiny little things that we think we can put our stamp on to differentiate.
Yeah, the physical product, it's more durable than most gloves. We have a unique subscription program that people can get on. We have a lot of subscription customers, one a month, one every 2 months, whatever the frequency you choose. And then, of course, we have our philanthropic angle, which is every glove we sell, we donate a glove to kids' youth golf program. So I think there's a lot that separates us. So I'd say for a first-time listener, just check us out.
I'm going to piggyback on that. There's another great question from Tim King, and it's how did white become the default color of golf gloves? And so the interesting part is, and you kind of notice this, the thing I always say is like, first of all, when you check out your glove, the next time your Red Rooster glove comes in the mail, have a look at the stitching. It's all hand stitched. So it's really amazing. Just kind of appreciate that, a person did this. So there's a craftiness to this, especially when you start looking at like the thumb stitch and the stitches along the different seams and so on. The other is every glove is slightly different. I mean, they're all from almost, a piece of leather, makes one glove. And so most of these, the skins themselves are what they call pearl white. So it almost has this, I feel like it's got like a little bit of a ice blue tint to it. So
yeah, same.
So the white gloves, so I find every glove looks slightly different in the white gloves. Kind of love that. They're somewhat unique, and they're not dyed white. So there's these little nuances that get into like subtle gray tones and those types of things. But as far as like, why is that the default? I'd say that's because like they aren't dyed. And once you get into the dyeing process, that's a whole other, animal. And we've got, lots of colored gloves as well. But I think the nice part about what I like with the pearl white gloves is that you can kind of see the wear a little bit more. You can see as it gets a bit more slippery. Like I love the saddle glove, but I have a harder time figuring out when to change that glove. Black glove looks like it's kind of bomb proof and kind of takes that beating. You don't really see the wear, how slippery it's getting. So I think maybe that's one of the advantages. And maybe the other thing now is just like these pearl white gloves, they go with lots of different outfits. So we noticed that, the white gloves are by far our most popular. People love to dip into some of the cool colors, but the white gloves are always the gloves that move the fastest.
A lot of people won't know this because I've gotten questions from actual professional golfers before. What animal does cabretta leather come from?
It's sheep leather. So it's kind of Indonesia has amazing leather. It's a Muslim country that eats a lot of lamb, and the skins are a byproduct of the food system. And that's where I sort of during COVID, why there was this, it was really difficult to get your hands on that leather because there weren't as many lambs being used for food and all those types of things, and you can't sort of justify getting these skins if they're not sort of going through the food system. So it's and cabretta leather it's a particular type of sheep that has a very fine hair, so it lends itself really well. It's got that really smooth surface. There's other types of sheep that have like thicker hair follicles that have like a rougher surface. So cabretta has that thin, soft feel, sort of perfect for golf gloves. I think it's used in a few other things. I think you might see it in like equestrian, other sort of fine motor skill. But it's pretty specific. I don't know of too many other sports that use cabretta.
I guarantee you at least one person learned something new today from that, because nobody knows that. It's funny. All right, well, we are going to get out of here. I'm excited about the Sussex. Guys, go check it out. Guys and gals, go check it out. It's available now on redroostergolf.com. Where else can people find us, Kerry?
You can always find us on our social channels at Red Rooster Golf or online at redroostergolf.com.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the Red Rooster Golf Podcast. For my partner, Kerry Moher, I am Brad Fritsch. We'll see you again soon. Until then, tee it high, let it fly, and cock a doodle-doo.